Greetings, adventurers. This is just me responding to the recent 1.3 update for Daggerheart. They put out a bunch of new cards, which makes it very easy for me to make changes to my previous top 10 list. So we're just going to go through it. I didn't go through the ancestries or the communities. I didn't go through the subclasses. We're just going straight to the domains. Starting with Arcana. There were no changes to the level 1 or level 2 Arcana cards. As far as Blade, there were no changes to level 1 or 2. Bone was entirely changed. So let's look at this. Deft Maneuvers, you can mark a stress to move anywhere within far range without making an agility roll to get there. That's as good as it was before. Still an honorable mention, because stress is no longer tied to hit points. You get a little bit more stress. It might be a slightly better honorable mention, but it's still hard to gauge how good this is going to be. Nimble. While this card is in your loadout, add half of your agility score to your evasion, rounded up. This is a complicated one. People were able to break their characters previously by getting a very high agility score on top of all their evasion increases. Evasion is still a very strong thing to get, but at low levels, you're only going to have the 2 or the 3, so which means still here, this is going to be a +1 or a +2. It's still helpful. It's actually less good, but it didn't even make my top 10. I see it coming. When you are targeted by a ranged attack, mark a stress to roll a d6 and increase your evasion against this attack by its value. Previously, I didn't even put this one in the honorable mentions. That's because it's only against a single ranged attack at the cost of now a stress. It's only a d6 now too, so this was downgraded. I think a d12 was a bit overtuned for this previously, but for me it was just too expensive to make the top 10. For Codex, all 3 books were changed. Book of Iliad, Slumber, make a spellcast roll against a very close target. On a success, they fall into a deep sleep until they take damage, or the GM spends a fear to awaken them. Arcane Barrage, once per short rest, use an action to spend any number of hope and shoot magical projectiles that automatically strike an enemy within close range. Roll d6 equal to hope you spend and deal that much direct magic damage. Telepathy, you may open a line of mental communication with one target you can see. This connection lasts until you use the spell to connect with another creature. This one didn't make my top 10 list either. The changes are that Arcane Barrage is now only once per short rest. It used to be that you could spend that hope over and over again, and because you weren't rolling, just automatically hits, you had no chance or risk of giving your game master fear. So this is a good balance effect, but it actually puts it even lower on the tier list. Book of Tyfar. Wild Flame. Make a spellcast roll against up to 3 enemies in melee range of you. A flame erupts from your hand, dealing 2d6 magic damage and a stress to any you succeed against. Magic Hand. You can reach out with a magical hand the same size and strength as your own to anywhere within far range of you. Mysterious Mist. Use an action to spend a hope and cast a temporary thick fog that encircles a stationary area up to very close range your current location. Everyone within is hidden to anybody outside the fog. The change is that Wild Flame is now melee range instead of very close range, and they didn't fix the typo, or they didn't clarify what they mean in Mysterious Mist. So for that reason, I think this actually takes it out of the top 10. This one was downgraded. Maybe it's 11, maybe it's 12. I would need to refer to my objective list, and just because this roll for Wild Flame is now limited to melee range, that's the issue. It's not hard to get into melee range with 3 people, but you're a wizard or you're a bard. That means that you're not really supposed to be on the front lines. It's very risky to use Wild Flame. Although you do a stress in addition, I just don't feel like that puts it where it needs to be to have made the top 10 anymore. So, Book of Tyfar, downgraded. Book of Ava, Power Push. Make a spellcast roll against a target in melee range. On a success, they are blasted back to far range and take d10 magic damage using your proficiency. Teva's Armor. Use an action to spend a hope that gives a target you can touch plus 1d6 to their armor score the next time they mark an armor slot. You can't stack Teva's Armor on one creature. And ice spikes. Make a spellcast roll to summon large ice spikes within very far range. If you use them as a weapon, on a success, deal d6 physical damage using your proficiency. This one didn't really get any actual quality changes. It's still basically everything it used to be. The upgrade is that they clarified things, that the d10 magic damage uses your proficiency. They made the language a little bit easier to understand, and I like how in the ice spikes they say you summon large ice spikes within very far range, and then if you use them as a weapon, which is saying that they're enforcing that creative use of magic in there. I think this keeps its place in my top 10. I just like that you can use the ice spikes for things besides as a weapon. And so as I was saying in my original video, that you can get some creativity with this. This is the full suite. Every wizard is going to want to have something like this because it's got your protection with power push, where you can also push objects, Tyfar's armor to protect yourself and your allies, and then it's got ice spikes, which has addition to ranged damage, which scales. You also get the idea, like, you can make ice spikes, so if you wanted to just be like, oh, I'm just going to make some chopsticks out of ice, I'm thinking, wow, cool, that's awesome. And I like that kind of stuff. Keeps its place. Book of Vagras. Runic Lock. You can infuse a rune upon an object you are touching that can close. A lock, a chest, box, bag, etc. will lock the object from being opened by anyone besides those you choose. The spell can be broken by somebody with magic in an hour of time to study it. Arcane Door. When you have no enemies in melee range, make a spellcast roll. 13. On a success, spend a hope to disappear from where you are and reappear somewhere within far range you can see. And then Reveal. Make a spellcast roll. If there's anything hidden within close range, the roll would succeed against. It is no longer hidden. This was just quality changes. It's not really power changes at all, and still makes the top 10. Like I said, you could protect everybody's pockets. You might even be able to use Runic Lock in order to lock somebody's weapon inside their scabbard, because that would be opening it, right? And so there's some ideas there. Arcane Door is a teleport. Teleport's amazing. And Reveal kind of gives you that single attribute dependency. It's just a little bit limited. Either way, I like this mostly because of the teleport. For Grace, Inspirational Words. You can imbue your speech with enhancing power. At the beginning of a session, place a number of tokens on this card equal to your presence score. When you recite your words, spend a token and choose an option from the list below to grant to the ally you are speaking to. If the action tracker is active, place that token on it. At the end of a session, clear all tokens. I think this is clearly a downgrade because you're going to have a limited use for it. These cards that all have like their own specific tokens can be a little bit hard to record in my foundryvtt world, but besides that, you're only going to get a few uses of this for most of the campaign because it's based off of your presence. This means that it's really designed just for the bard to use, and maybe a rogue is going to use presence as a secondary stat, for instance, but it does the same thing as clear a stress, heal a hit point, gain a hope, but this used to be better. I think I would probably put Inspirational Words just a little bit lower. I'm not sure if it gets downgraded to honorable mentions, but definitely this is a downgrade, but a well-deserved downgrade because of the power of it. Stress is not as valuable as it used to be because it's specifically for basically just powering your abilities. That's it. And then that's it for Grace. Next up is Midnight. Got Rain of Blades here. Rain of Blades got a good balanced change. Rain of Blades, spend 2 hope to conjure throwing blades that strike any enemies very close to you. Make a spellcast roll, and all targets that you succeed against take d8 magic damage using your proficiency. If any targets you hit are currently vulnerable, they take an additional 1d8 magic damage. I think this probably keeps its place. It's not as incredible low-level damage as it used to be, but it does still do very good damage, and keep in mind that you can still sneak attack with it as a rogue. So I think Rain of Blades is going to stay number 2. Very close range is not that bad of a thing, and it's just nice to have an area of effect ability at such a low level for the modest cost of 2 hope. Stays where it is. And that's it for Midnight changes. There were no changes to the relevant Sage cards. We have 2 changes here. In Splendor, there's a Bolt Beacon. Make a spellcast roll against a target within far range. On a success, spend a hope to send a bolt of shimmering light towards them. Treat it like a ranged weapon, dealing D8 magic damage using your proficiency that makes them glow brightly and become temporarily vulnerable. So the upgrade here is that you make the spellcast roll first, and then you spend the hope. So this means that you're not spending hope for nothing. That's an absolute upgrade. Doesn't put it on par with Forceful Push, but it definitely does improve it. Probably with Inspirational Words going down, Bolt Beacon goes up a little bit. Bolt Beacon's maybe like number 9. Then is Healing Hands. Make a spellcast roll and target a creature other than yourself in melee. On a success, mark a stress to heal the target 2 hit points or 2 stress. On a failure, mark a stress to heal the target 1 hit point or 1 stress. You can't heal the same target again until after your next short rest. This got exactly what I thought it needed. It stays in place on my tier list because it's awesome that you can have that highly effective heal, or you still have a guaranteed heal once per short rest. That's the balance factor right there. Maybe people don't like once per short rest kind of effects. You have a limited number of short rests per day, but this is a good healing ability. Most likely, people are going to be topped up by the end of that. Now up is Valor, Bare Bones. While this card is in your loadout, if you choose not to equip armor, you have an armor score equal to 3 plus your level. I'm a little bit confused by this one because on Demiplane, it's your regular strength, not double your strength. So we'll see which one it is. Either way, this didn't make my top 10, and it's actually even less powerful now, whether you cut it as your level or as your strength. So it's going to stay out of the top 10. My issue with Bare Bones is that it has a very expensive cost of a domain card. Can lend towards a specific type of character. If you want it to be an unarmored character, this is essential, but the problem is that you can replicate this with armor. On the flip side, this actually did get stronger because armor values in general have gone down, and so at level 1, this is chainmail without any of the downsides. It's still not quite going to make it there. Could be that it makes honorable mention just because it is now comparable to armors in a better way, but I just don't like that it costs a domain card. It's easy to swap out because it's a 0 cost, but still, I don't think it's going to make it. That is all the cards that I've reviewed previously for Daggerheart. I hope you've enjoyed this. Again, I'm looking for players for my Daggerheart campaign. It's going to be starting this Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So please check out the link in the description, or reach out to me on Reddit, reach out to me on TikTok, reach out to me on YouTube. Have a good day.